That's it. Whoa, the new intro. My glasses are glaring, tech guy. So, hi, here we are, Friday night again. I've been gone for, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, so we've skipped a week, but we're back in town, and I went to Mexico. It was great, except they tried not to let me back into the country, which was not so great. But I got through. I walked across the border. So, taking a bit of a different angle this week, rather than a winery, it's always people that inspire me and I am inspired by, and it's always been wineries and vineyards. This time we took a different tack. We're going to meet with Eric, who I first met when he was one of the very, very first Tablas Creek tasting room attendants, probably back in 2002, 2003, somewhere in there, when we were just pouring out of the small tasting room that was originally the lobby. Subsequently, Eric's gone on to do a lot of stuff, and now has a great restaurant in town, and we'll talk about all that with Eric when we get there. But just cool to have watched someone from working in our tasting room and having dreams of doing stuff. I'm not sure he had any dreams about restaurants at that point, or not owning them, and to watch the progression, and now he's among the very best restaurants in our town, and that's pretty cool to watch. And he serves Tablas Creek, which is great. It's always important that we remember that, when you're dealing with people that one day they might own a restaurant and you might want to carry. Be nice to people. Anyway, Eric Connolly, the owner of the Hatch, and soon to be a new restaurant too. Hey, Eric.
Hi guys, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Put some wine in your glass,
Please.
So 2020 Marsanne, bottled on Tuesday. There was no single bottling of Marsanne. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good to have you here. So, Tablas Creek, 2002, 2003.
Started in 2003, early spring, I believe.
Early spring. Catherine Ferris.
Yes, Catherine Ferris was the hospitality
manager. There wasn't a lot of hospitality going on at Tablas Creek in those days. But
I don't think there was a lot of hospitality going on in Paso Robles.
It's true. It's true. And Tommy Aldry was your cohort.
Yes.
Right? Who is another one who he may show up tonight, but another guy who's gone on from the tasting room and now has a pretty sweet job working for Vineyard Brands, which is Robert Haas's previous company, selling some of the best Burgundies in the world and Tablas Creek, as it happens.
Yeah, it's great that Tablas and a lot of other organizations in town have been able to foster relationships with their employees where they're happy to allow them to grow, springboard into bigger and better. And I think your organization, Tablas Creek Vineyards, has been fantastic with bringing people in, teaching them the ropes, and setting them loose on the industry to do whatever it is that they're looking to accomplish.
And they gave me the springboard, and I just never jumped.
Well, you know what?
They're through it.
There's nothing wrong with longevity. I mean, in your position, in fact, actually, could you explain a little bit how you juxtapose from being a cook at McPhee's into being the winemaker at Tablas? I'm a little fuzzy on that story.
Yeah. Well, I cooked for a living prior to being in the wine industry. And so I was working at Adelaide Cellars for John Munch at that moment in time. And I'd known Ian McPhee from my time in the restaurant industry, because I worked in this area for quite a few years in the restaurant. And when he opened his restaurant, John Munch paid me in buttons, so I had no money. And I had a young child, so I had to make some money. So Ian actually approached me and said, you want to come work in the kitchen?
Okay.
So I did. It didn't last very long because I'd been out of the kitchen long enough to realize pretty quickly that I really can't do this anymore, because it's real.
There's a real thing called being in restaurant shape.
Yeah, it is. And I worked in kitchens since I was 15. Went to culinary school in England. Worked some very serious lines. Lived that lifestyle. Thought that I would never stop because I loved it. But took a few years off to work in winery, and then went back and tried to do it again. And it was not the same deal. Did not enjoy it.
I'm glad you found the path you did.
Yeah, well, the best thing that came out of it was my cohort in the McPhee's kitchen, and we opened the place with Ian, was a gentleman by the name of Randy Augsburger, who was a local metal sculptor, and did all the metal work, did a barbecue in there, and he's been a lifelong friend ever since. Super cool guy. Augsburger Studios. People should check that out. He's talented. So yeah, I still kind of enjoyed it, but I my heart was now somewhere else, and it's hard. It's hard. You listen to all the Anthony Bourdain quotes on life in a kitchen, and it's a different family, and you've got to be a bit dysfunctional. All true.
100%.
Right? That life was a whole different life for me, and I was out of it because I had a family, and I didn't want to go back down that road. For me, it didn't work. In that sense, I was going to open my own restaurant, and I just didn't ever get to that point. I had a catering company, which is different. Working the line is something.
Rebel world.
So that's how that happened, and I went, and Munch still didn't pay me anything. He just made me go and sell wine as well, and work twice as hard for the same money. But eventually we got there, and then Tablas Creek came along. It was great. As far as you, though, I mean, after you were done at Tablas, and we were pouring, and we're going to have one of the wines you would have been pouring then today, you went into the restaurant, or you went gardening for a while, right? You were like
No, not exactly.
Or something.
First of all, I left Tablas Creek to go work harvest at Justin.
Okay.
I was looking to.
I hired Tommy and not you to work in the cellar?
No, it was some sexy French kid who
Oh.
came over. He was living down by your house.
Italian.
Oh, was he Italian?
Gianluca.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And so the position was filled, and at the time it was a very
Sexy
small
Italian
crew.
kid, Eric.
Well, I see why
Whatever.
decisions were made. And, it was a very, very small crew back at that time. I think it was you, Ryan,
And that guy.
and an intern.
Yeah.
And there was a few days during harvest where, you needed extra help doing pump overs, and, I would take my tasting room hat off and move into the cellar. And I was very interested in the time at pursuing a winemaking career. And then I got an intern job at Justin, and kind of progressed from there.
Which at that point, Justin was still owned by Justin, right?
It was, and still
just out on the west side of
still
town.
very much growing at the time.
Right.
It wasn't maybe what you call the monolith it is today.
Yeah, it's big there.
It's fairly large scale. But again, another organization who takes people in, teaches them the ropes and turns them loose on the industry, which is great that we have organizations in town that do that.
Right.
It's,
They actually offered me, when I was leaving Adelaide, they came and offered me a job, and I had just taken a job at Tablas. So I could have ended up there too.
I think you made a great career choice.
It was good. I went to friends, which was good. Yeah.
Not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
Summer job, and it turned into full time. But it didn't play out as I thought. I thought I would end up in the cellar, but I ended up working in the tasting room, and then they needed help in the restaurant, and that's where restaurants got introduced.
Did you done restaurant work before that?
Yeah, I worked as a busser in a local trattoria when
So
I
that
was
was your
14,
first,
15.
I'm a waiter.
That was my first, yes. That was my first job. My interview went something like, will you do everything I say? And you want to make some good money? And I said yes to both questions. And they said, you're hired.
Obviously, they tested it.
And how long were you there?
I did almost 8 years.
8 years at Justin?
Almost 8
I had
years.
no
Or
idea.
Maybe it was, let me do the math. I'm tough. I'm not good at math. So
We could go with 8.
probably like 6 years.
Cool.
6 years. Did everything from tasting room, vineyard work, cellar work. Sometimes I drove the kids to golf clubs, golf lessons.
Right. And waited.
And waited tables.
Wow. Still a good all-round gig, really.
Oh, it was
For a young
fantastic. No, it really opened up some insights into the industry, how it worked, who our local players were, introduced me to a lot of people, like your previous guest, Chris Cherry. We developed a relationship from my time at Justin, which is fantastic. Sure. It's where I really met all the people I know today who are in my inner circle of the industry.
Oh, cool. And then Cass House.
The Cass House came much later. I moved out of town and went to San Francisco for a while, Napa Valley for a little bit, and then when I was coming back into town, the Cass House happened, which was a really great spot.
Great moment, right?
Oh man, what a fantastic restaurant that was.
I think that remains probably one of my favorites that we've had.
Yeah.
And Jensen's still doing phenomenal work with Larder Meat Company
Certainly.
and all that stuff. I mean,
Well, the circle,
impressive man.
the circle closes a little bit. We just became the official caterer for Cass House events.
Oh, you did?
So the Hatch Rotisserie is now the official caterer for all their weddings and different events that they do down there. In fact, my chef's there right now doing an event.
Because they closed down that to the public, right?
Probably 2 years ago,
Yeah.
it shut down
It's kind
as
of sad
a
because that was a
restaurant.
cool spot.
I mean, it's one of those special properties in town.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of history there. The curators who took it over really put a lot of energy and detail into the renovation.
You know, the Captain Cass was from Bristol.
I did not know that. Was he really?
Yeah, when I lived in Cayucas in the 80s, that was just a derelict old house. And Captain Cass's house, he built the pier.
Yeah.
And he was from the Bristol boys.
Yeah, at that time, people were just throwing rocks through the windows.
Right.
And,
I didn't do that.
You probably did.
The
You
kids
remember.
of that area did. But that was a great moment, and larder meat is great. I mean, I've been a member of that on and off. I mean, I end up with too much meat in my freezer, but
I can
Jensen
imagine.
has done great work. And so, all of this, and then into actually owning a restaurant in
Yeah.
Paso Robles, which had been kind of a string of relatively unsuccessful restaurants.
In that particular location,
At that
yes.
moment, right? It had been like almost worked, but didn't quite, which is always, people
Right.
are always scared of buying a property or moving into a property with that kind of history, which I've never really understood. But,
Well, you know, we had no other option, so the history of the place meant nothing.
and a
to
super
us.
cool room, right? Super cool space.
Well,
So it's
we're
like-
in the Granger building, which was built in 1888. It used to be 2 stories. There's a hotel upstairs, multiple little businesses, and it was also the farm grange for the community.
Farm what?
Farm grange, I think
Okay.
that's how you pronounce it.
All right.
It's where all the farmers meet, where the
Okay.
brokering
Nice.
happens. I think that's how that kind of works.
Cool.
And so it has, the building itself has a lot of history.
A lot of stuff's going down in there.
You know, it looks like there's some places in the basement that have been walled off where the cave system used to come through here.
Yeah.
You know, it was built in 1888. So in the Hatch side, there's the original brick wall, you know, with old wooden dowels that have been inserted to hang pictures. All kinds of just crazy history that I would love to know about.
More
Just
else,
kind of on the
someone,
face
someone
of
in
that
town
wall.
knows that stuff, right?
I
You
don't
would
know.
think.
There's maybe an old timer or two around, but I mean, we're talking 1888. That's,
What year did you take it over?
we took it over in 2005. I think we
wow,
opened
wow.
on June 15th,
That time moves
2005. Is that correct? We're coming up on 6 years. 1, 2, 3.
It's 2021, so
Yeah, we're coming up on 6 years in June. June
so
15th,
2015,
2015.
not
Yes.
2005.
Like I said, I spent 17 years in college. I'm not good at math.
Not doing math though.
Not doing
It wasn't a math scholarship. So 6 years
6 years, yeah. So
and successful as hell. You can't even get in the place.
you can always get in.
I try sometimes. If you're not there,
You have my
like,
phone number. You have
no,
my
no,
phone
no.
number.
We're
In
busy.
case there are any locals who know me watching the show today, if you have my phone number, please send me a text if you're looking to get in. I really want to take care of my people.
And it has been incredibly successful, and it's really very, very good. Which, you know, Paso 6 years ago needed that. I mean, we've always had bistro on, which
Certainly.
remains consistently great in my opinion. Via Creek was still here then,
Yes, it was.
just,
I think they were
Probably.
maybe a year and a half out before they
and
closed
probably
down.
Artisan was still over.
Artisan
its
was over
original.
on this
No, it
section.
moved
No,
at that time
no, it
already,
moved at that time.
and it wasn't ever as good over there as it was over there, in my opinion.
Fair opinion.
Yeah, I think. So it was good timing, right? Paso needed something a little different, a little hipper.
You know, it's
And why the concept? What was your? Did you model it after something?
one of my favorite restaurants in San Francisco is a little place called Nopa. And I used to go there after my shift when I worked in the city. And they had this beautiful, towering rotisserie. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you could put 30 or 40 chickens on it. It was probably 12 feet tall, had this just really great motion to it. And I just loved watching it during dinner. I always thought to myself, if I was going to open a restaurant, it's definitely going to be wood fired. And it's going to have a rotisserie that looks like that one.
Right.
So when we got this opportunity, I went and actually I think I called the manager who was on duty at the time, and I just asked him, who made your rotisserie? And he sent me the information, and I called him up, and I got one for myself.
You bought your own rotisserie.
My
Still
own
there.
rotisserie.
Still turning chickens.
Still turning chickens. In fact, I hope it lasts forever because it can't actually physically leave the building at this point. It's been built in.
Oh wow.
It's built into the kitchen and it's built into the building. So I don't know how it's ever going to get taken
It's
out.
gonna have to get fixed.
They're going to have to cut it up maybe to get it out.
Also, incredible cocktails, which was another great thing that we needed in town. Chris Cherry at Via had always done a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Was charged way too much to Chris.
Well, you know, California is one of those interesting states where liquor license density is based on population growth.
Right.
So you need X amount of growth into your community to justify a new legal release of a license.
Well, was it Burnix before you?
It was Burnix, yeah.
They had a liquor. They had a license.
They did.
Right?
I can't remember exactly where that went, but it didn't come from me.
Okay.
I actually got mine straight from the state of California.
Okay.
It's one of those interesting licenses that can be transferred person to person on the open market.
Wow.
But we were able to get one directly from the state, which was really awesome. And it was in a lottery. There was something like 30 or 40 applicants, and somehow, some way, we were chosen to get one.
And so the thing that always intrigues me about people that open restaurants in our town is what a pain it must be having every winemaker and winery owner trying to insist that you carry their wine. And there's now 300 wineries or something, right?
It's hard.
You can. And you start off doing bottles, then kind of evolved into cakes more, right?
We started off with a cake program, with a bottle program also, and for every 4 to 5 kegs of a certain SKU we went through, we'd go through half a case of bottles. At the time, it just wasn't what people wanted from us.
Right.
And so over the X amount of years I've been in town, I built a lot of great relationships. And so I just call people up, hey, will you cake something for me? And there was a lot of hesitancy in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much unknown 6 years ago to keg wines. And then I got a couple people to bite. You guys started your own line of paddling, which was awesome. I think that was groundbreaking and really,
Well, that was, I don't know if you know it or not, but that was actually driven by Tommy.
You told me that story, yes.
Yeah, he was the one that wanted to do that. He wanted to do the kegs and he wanted to do the other label.
Well, it's a fantastic program if you can get good producers to put good juice in the kegs. I mean, there's plenty of options on the market that are, I guess what people would say are keg wines.
Right.
Keg quality wines. It kind of gets, good juicer. It kind of gets locked in with like your boxed wines, your blushes, and things of that nature. People think if it's in a keg, it's lower quality. Everything. And it could be true to the opposite, though.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a huge proponent of it in that it's very simply, it's better for everybody all the way down the line. It's better for the winery because I know that Eric doesn't have half a bottle of wine that's been open for 6
4 or
weeks.
5 days.
I can get
who
one
knows?
more day out of this, and it's not tasting as good as it should be.
Certainly.
So it's better for the customer.
Absolutely.
Better for the owner, you, because you don't have to throw wine away. Better for me because I know that wine will always be presented in perfect shape.
Certainly.
We had a keg come back half full after a year out, God knows where, when we were doing our own kegging. And we tapped it and it tasted as good as it did when we sent it out.
Why did it get sent back?
I think they went out of business or whatever.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I have no idea. It just came back and I was washing kegs. It's like, this is half full. We should taste it
Took that to the house
to see what it's like. Exactly.
Well, it's always
It
under
was great.
pressure. It's under nitrogen gas.
Yeah.
And it's at the right temperature.
Yeah. So it's always
what
good.
else could you ask for?
I go to a restaurant and order wine by the glass, but it's depending on the restaurant. Obviously, if it's a busy, cranking restaurant, but Marcy and I went somewhere a little slower than that. It's like they had wines by the glass, and I don't want to have to send stuff back.
Right.
I don't want to play. Well, open another one, and we'll do a
We'll see
side by
what
side, and
happens.
we'll
Yes.
see. So I've been a big fan of the keg. Something that's come up. Jason wrote a blog piece a while ago on our carbon footprint, all that stuff, and our packaging. And someone threw out, "Why don't you do wine in a box? Why isn't Paso in a box?" And kind of like, never really seemed to fit us that well. But then you think about it, and you think
Maybe
we
it
constantly
does.
have our wine club members asking to buy kegs, which we don't sell to the public. It's like box of Paso Rosé in your fridge. Why not? Right? 3
My
liters
mom
of
would buy
rosé.
it all day long.
My wife would buy it all day long. Well, she wouldn't. I just have to bring it to her.
Well, I think it's a great concept. I think people have caught on. It's mainstream now. I mean, you go to a lot of places, especially in our county, and they have tap wines. 6 years ago, it was fairly unheard of. I think Billy Hales down at one of his bars in South County was doing it 6 years ago. I think he was the first person in town in our area to do so.
Yeah.
And it's exploded from there. Now everyone's interested in it.
It's great. I love it. I think it's such a good thing for everybody.
I've never had one glass sent back corked.
I'm still wishing that, and it hasn't really happened yet that I've seen, that we would start seeing high-end wines like Esprit going into a keg. So someone can come to the Hatch.
If you want me to be the guinea pig, I'll do it.
Right, so someone can come to the Hatch and have a whatever that would be, a $30 glass of Esprit.
Let's do it.
But again, then people get to try it. They get to try the Patsalon, which is great. They get
Sure.
to, but Patsalon is one part of Tablas Creek. It's not the Esprit.
It's one aspect.
And I think that would be super cool. And no one that I've seen anyway has jumped on that. Let's put a high end, and you have that conversation of, well, it's best for everybody because the wine's always better. Why doesn't it fit in the keg then? Why isn't it a good spot for a high-end wine?
I think that you need to answer that question from a winemaker's point of view. There's plenty of guys who have given me some of that really awesome juice from, really well-known West Side vineyards who say, hey, please call this something else because it doesn't fit my branding for marketing. And that's a very fair thing for us to do.
We'll do that. We'll do something good in a keg.
I think we should do it.
Yeah, we will do it. Okay, done.
All right, done.
I mean,
Good doing
it's
business with you
Jason's
guys.
decision, so it might have to be Loma Drone, but whatever. We'll do something.
We'll figure it out. We'll do both.
We'll do something high-end. So, how is it dealing with us?
Tablas Creek?
No, winemakers thinking you should carry there because they come in here and eat chicken.
You know what? I built a really great circle of friends in the community. And those are the people whose products I like to carry. Not just because they're my friends, but they're also people who have been in town for a long time. They know their craft, and they're doing good things. Paso has gone through so many iterations of business. There was the innovators, people like Bob Hoff, the Gary Everleys, the Dr. Hoffmans.
Yeah.
And then it came to
Tommy's
Tommy in.
Should we bring him in? Tommy Aldry. Can we bring him in? He's a famous tennis player.
There he is.
He used to play professionally, I believe.
I wish. No. Can you guys hear me?
It's really worked out.
And so Hatch 6 years. Doing great. Maggie, your wife, is really a wonderful human being. What makes it all happen, right?
100%.
We can't have this conversation without.
Correct.
She should be here, but
She is with our
she
beautiful
would
children.
make us look bad.
100%.
That's why I didn't invite her.
She's very put together.
Yes, she is. So are you, of course.
No, I'm not.
So 6 years of the Hatch, incredibly successful.
Yes.
Still liking the business.
Most days, right now there's a lot of more new hurdles. There's new, there's new problems to overcome.
Labor hurdles.
Labor is always an issue. In fact,
He's back.
we got him back.
Can you hear us now, Tommy?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Excellent. Welcome back to California.
I'd say you're looking really good, Tommy, but it wouldn't be that true. How are you? How's California? For all the people listening, after years of pining to come back, Tommy just moved back to the beautiful state of California.
It's nice to be back.
Is it nice to be back?
It's incredible. Yeah.
You
Bittersweet in that I left a lot of, kind of good friends and a lot of good times in Colorado, but I'm so incredibly excited to be back. And,
10 years in Denver?
9 years to the day.
9 years to the day.
Is it really that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
And now living in San Francisco. How's the city? You digging the city?
Yeah, I feel like it's a really good time to be a new guy right now. I feel like, every city's kind of waking back up after, the kind of tough last 15, 16 months. And that you can hide pretty easily as a new guy right now because there's so many new faces at a lot of places. So
Right.
it's exciting. And, I think, a lot of people, you guys were just talking about, a lot of people are excited about next week and kind of fully opening back up. But a lot of people are not going to be able to just because it's so hard and challenging to find staff right now.
I'm sure it's really challenging up there. I mean, it's crazy.
Everywhere. Yeah, I mean, even in Denver before I left, I think I just remember seeing at one point that every restaurant that I knew needed a line cook, let alone front of house,
Where did they all go? I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Somewhere.
I wouldn't be surprised to learn that a lot of people left the industry,
Right.
Yeah.
Found out they could do something else that was a little more forgiving.
A little more, maybe, some people a little more, forgiving and a little bit easier lifestyle, I think we all love restaurants. Obviously, all of us do. But I think, at some point, some people just, it beats them up a little bit and they're ready to try and find something else,
So you can see we're sitting here in Eric's new spot, which we haven't talked about yet. But while you're on, you can grill him about it a little bit. Maybe it was your dream when you lived here. You never stopped talking about opening a pizza joint, right?
I still never stop talking about opening a pizza joint.
Well, Eric's beating you to it, so now you're just gonna have to come work in one. Looking for a cook for weekends.
Kudos to Eric. I run my mouth. He gets to work. I'm proud of that.
There'll be an honorary peel back there for you. We'll let you put. We'll definitely put a pizza through the oven.
I want to see you when you're down here. I want to see you put a pizza in an oven in Paso Robles.
I quietly work on my skills. Away from guys like you. But I'd love to hop on the oven at some point once you're up and going for sure.
Absolutely, sir. Anytime. You're welcome.
How's your arm?
I think I'm headed in the right direction.
That prodigious tennis player was crushing the club pros the way I heard it and injured his arm with a massive overhead.
It's all true. And yeah, I just had my second surgery 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that I'm headed in the right direction. 4 more weeks. If an x-ray looks good, I can start doing some physical therapy. And yeah, that's been the hardest thing this week. I've been so busy that I haven't been able to watch any of the French Open. And
it's a great game today, right?
I know who won, but I'm going to watch it all tonight, I think, just because I heard it was some incredible tennis. So
one of the best games in history is what I heard.
Yeah. So for the final on Sunday, I'm staying at a place right now that doesn't have cable, and I'm kind of like, how am I going to be able to go watch a French Open final at 9 a.m. on Sunday in San Francisco?
There'll be a bar. There's a tennis bar in San Francisco.
Guaranteed.
I'm going to be watching England play Croatia in the Euros at a bar in Atascadero on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. So surely there's tennis in San Francisco.
I'm hopeful.
And I do own the bar, so I mean it makes it a little easier.
That's Tommy's Tennis Tavern. That's
there you go.
thing I'm gonna run my mouth about.
It's not all it's supposed to be. You thought it was. It looks hot over there, Tommy.
It is. You lose all your forearm hair for certain.
All right. So you can stay with us if you want. So Tablas, Eric.
Tell us, yeah.
So
everyone can see our new.
We've done
logo
the
on back.
Hatch. The building next door was almost going to open before the COVID business, right?
Yes.
Almost there.
We signed a lease 2 weeks before we were shut down next door. Or before, I would say, I think that was around March, St. Patty's Day last year. And we had just signed a lease a couple weeks prior. And I think then after that, we went to a 50% occupancy, something of that nature. And so it definitely derailed plans, put us behind schedule. But the silver lining was, since we were 50% next door, we just kind of put lipstick on the pig over here, and we put 50% over on this
Right.
side. So we were able to make use of it,
Use the
although not
space.
our intended purpose.
Right.
It made sense.
That's what you do in your business. You roll
That's
with
what
it,
you do.
right?
And then we, we don't have a full panorama shot here, but in
So give us a
December-
lowdown. What's the concept of Tablas?
Tablas is
I
a-
see a big red pizza.
It's-
So
yes.
There's going to be pizza.
It's a wood fire pizzeria. It's
Tommy's
the underlying
Pizza
theme.
Palace over there.
We can rename it. Underlying theme for both restaurants is wood fire, and where the Hatch is very comfort food, Tablas is going to have more of a composed nature for its shared plates. There's a really cool pizzeria in Ballard, Washington called Delancey. If anyone lives in the Washington area, Seattle area, definitely go see these guys up in Ballard. And Tablas is very much modeled after that. It's a very streamlined menu. You'll find anywhere from 5 to 7 appetizers, 7 to 8 pies, and 1 dessert.
Is everything coming out of the oven, a la Industrial Eats style?
No,
or is
not
it-
everything. We
Okay.
try. We really wanted to go to that model, and we couldn't fit 2 of those pizza ovens in the building.
It's big fella.
It just didn't make sense. So there'll be a regular saute hotline, and
Okay.
most of those dishes will come off of that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Got anything? Something other than pizza? Give us a tease.
Let's see. Fantastic beet carpaccio dish. We're doing mozzarella sticks, adult style. We have a fantastic selection. Everything from like marinated olives and feta to that beet dish I was speaking of. It's a real eclectic grouping of dishes.
Super-
Highly composed and beautiful.
Really cool vibe, and you the same feel. You can tell the same people own it as next door for sure, but a little different. Cool booths and booze, cocktails.
Yes. So you can see there's a little doorway over
Yeah,
here.
again.
That was something we did so we could push our liquor
your
license
license comes in
into,
here.
into the
Right.
new residence.
Sneaky.
Something really cool ABC started. I think Chipino in San Luis Obispo was the kind of the first person to pursue that type of expansion.
Leonard.
They set a precedent, and we're just on those coattails.
He's been ahead of the game a long time, that guy.
I'm not that smart, but I can stand on the shoulders of giants.
That's what I would say. Without that, it'd be
There's
hard
no
to-
reason to reinvent the wheel.
There's not very many giants around. A lot of people stand on shoulders.
Amen.
So, 2 weeks, by the look of it.
You know what? The physical space is essentially ready to go. We're just in the same boat as a lot of other restaurants all across the nation where we're looking for good help. So if there's anyone out there who wants to come sling
Tommy.
pizzas for us, Tommy, you have the Friday and Saturday, Sunday shift, just so you know.
If the San Francisco gig doesn't work out,
Yeah, I'm going to hold you to that just
I
because
got a
you
spare
can
room
do-
at the house.
I'm going to hold both of you to that. Like, if you guys think about it, this is actually you're both like worst nightmares, right? Like some guy that can't make pizzas, that's
Totally.
keeping you up
I
too
keep
late.
in my back bedroom, snoring.
But I feel like you have a good attitude.
Well,
Thank you.
Tommy, stay with us for a moment because we just tasted the new Marsanne,
Which is absolutely
2020.
delicious.
This ball earlier this week. I claimed that I did it, but you know that I didn't.
You know,
So-
I'm actually going to join you guys. I was with Darren Delmore last night, and he left me a really nice kind of a open sample of the 19 Morved that was just bottled, I think, within the last couple weeks.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's beauty.
Yeah, it's open. I'm going to grab that really quickly.
You do that.
Yeah, well-
We're gonna go to a 2003 Esprit.
Funny story, Darren's nephew is going to be one of our pizza makers at Della's.
From Dell's.
From
From
Dell's.
Dell's to Della's.
Darren's parents or grandparents opened Dell's?
think his parents.
His parents. I think
Not
he's been there
100%
for
on that,
50
but
years.
Been there a long time.
And he's been working there for a while, so he just recently moved to Paso Robles, and he'll be selling pizzas out of
an
Tablas,
experienced
which is
local
pretty cool.
pizza thrower.
Yeah.
So what we're going to go to now, where's the camera? I'll try and do the best I can with that. 2003 Esprit de Beaucastel, which back in that day was 50% Morvet. That's a high percentage Morvet. 27 Syrah, 16 Grenache, and 7% Cunoise. And Eric and Tommy would have been selling this wine back in the day, or trying to.
One of my favorites
Remember
was
the 03?
actually on the menu, the 2001 Founders Reserve.
No, right.
I know it didn't quite make the Esprit cutoff, or you hadn't started that designation
Long
yet.
story.
But that was one of my favorite wines that
Fun
produced
wine.
out of there.
Fun wine.
That was actually Deanna, who was Eric and I's boss in 2003.
Yes.
Yeah, that was our nickname for Eric, right? Like Founders Reserve, you were only supposed to pull for very, very special people. And like every time you turn around, Eric's got his hands on a Founders Reserve, pouring it for anybody that walks in. And
Yeah, it's true. I did. There was madness in my method.
He's not doing that in his own place.
I used to. I actually, at one point, pulled library Founders and we sold it at the Hatch. That was probably 2 or 3 years ago. But
I think
it was a time.
it's to Eric's hospitality, right? Like it's you want to welcome everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I always feel pretty welcome when I come here. So what do you think of the 03, Eric?
Let's get into it.
Give us a thought.
I mean, 03, it's starting to show its age a little bit. It's starting to get some really nice color at the rim. It looks beautiful. Legs are falling gently. Wow. Aromas are awesome.
No, Frank. Hey, Frank. How are you? No audio. Frank has no audio. Ledge Vineyards. Uh-oh. The Adamses are in the house.
It's showing nice.
Yeah, it's showing really well.
It's showing very nice.
Right? Soft. It's got nice. The age is nice. Tannins are holding strong.
Yeah, I would have that with my lamb shank next door tonight.
You might.
I might. You might.
I might. How's what you're drinking, Tommy? How's the 19 Morvet?
It's beautiful. I haven't had any 2019s from Tablas yet, outside of some Catalan Rosé last year. So, yeah. Oh, it's really, really nice. When did this get bottled?
Oof, I don't remember the date of that. Tommy, come on.
Yeah, no, but I think it was recently, like one of the last.
Recently, Tommy. Recently, yeah. It's gonna enjoy some time in the bottle for sure. And we were talking earlier. Oh, we're losing Eric. We were talking earlier about the Patalan program and kegs, and Eric's primarily a keg house these days, and that was your inspired decision.
I was definitely excited about it, and I think it's.
I think it was your concept originally, as I recall.
Yeah, why'd you come up with that? What was the thinking behind it?
I remember being annoyed that you came up with it.
Yeah, well, I wanted something to introduce people to Tablas Creek with, and that seemed a lot easier to do at about $20 on the shelf and a proper by the glass price than Cote Tablas was $25-$30, and there's a perception issue, right? Like it just seemed that a lot more people 12 years ago were willing to open their wallets at 20 and were a bit more reserved at $25-$30. So I just wanted a wine that would start getting Tablas Creek in front of people, basically, and the Patalan did a really good job helping us do that, basically. I mean, I think Tablas has always had an incredible name, but it was just easier to kind of have restaurants and consumers take a jump at a more approachable price point. And it was, you guys made great wines that first year, right? Like I remember, there was that.
Are you suggesting that we haven't made great wines ever since, Tommy? Since you left?
Yeah, well, since I left. I mean, they're still wonderful, but yeah.
The winemaker news coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, we made a decent chunk that first year. I think it was like 5,000 cases of red, 2,000 cases of white, and I think we sold out of both in 8 or 9 month. So I
very
felt
quickly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's continued and continues to be a great program. I mean, we're upping it again now. It's starting to ramp back up again. People are digging it. We're getting good recognition for the wines, and it's always been as you remember. I mean, the original, you and I went out looking for vineyards, and it's always been a celebration of local vineyards and what we can do with what growers are doing with fruit. A lot of stuff, obviously, from Tablas Creek vines, and continues in that vein.
Yeah, and that was fun for me too, right? Like the fact that like I got included in that, or you kind of included like in going to meet with like Neil Roberts and was it the Chicara Vineyard and Chris, I thought was a really kind of cool guy.
Chris Kuchar, yeah.
They were all. I mean, that's kind of the fun part. Like all those managers and farmers, they're characters, right? They're unique and they're kind of fun to hang out with and see how they do stuff. And it was a part of Paso that I didn't really know prior to that, you know.
Right. This is a great part of Paso, and that whole community is super interesting, and it was fun that you got to get involved. And we're still, you know, it's ever evolving. You know, we have few of the original vineyards maybe, but always looking for new stuff and new growers. And the climate's changing. One year it's impossible to find fruit. This year it's been challenging. You know,
Is it really?
Yeah, because it's getting busier. There's people from out of town coming to buy fruit, and Paso's reputation gets stronger and stronger, which is a great thing, and that's been part of it. So, you know, you start printing people's name on your bottle, and people then know where to go look for it, right?
Right.
And
Which if we can get someone and they can suddenly double the price of their fruit, and it takes them out of the Patzlan game, good for them. You know, it's if we've helped with that, we're proud to do so.
And so, after Tommy introduced this idea, what was the process to fruition?
I mean, I'm struggling to remember with Tommy whether the original idea was a wine in keg or whether the original idea was just the Patzlan, but my memory, because bottling wine is straightforward for us, it's what we do, but the kegs, that was a huge challenge. Like, how are we going to do this? And we've never done it. There was no system for us to do it. How are you going to track, you know, you send wine out in a keg to Wisconsin. How are we going to have that keg back? You know, it's stainless steel. It's $120 a piece. Sure. You got to get it back. And so that was always challenging, and figuring a way to label. And when we started, we were wrapping the kegs and putting labels on them. And we bought a keg washer. We did everything in house, and it was super challenging.
Yeah,
we did it, and kind of liked it because we had total control, which is kind of what we like with our wines. But then a company called Free Flow arrived on the scene up in Sonoma. So then you could ship the wine in a small tank, and they will keg it into their kegs and track their kegs and do all of that. And they're super meticulous with how they keg, and we follow the numbers and everything's super tight, and we don't have to worry about the kegs. So that's been the reason that it's worked as well as it has, is we have that service.
Yeah, that availability.
You know, because you don't get kegs back. Restaurateurs don't care.
And most people have moved to plastic kegs.
And we don't, you know, I can't, with what we do at Tablas Creek, so conscious about reducing our waste and reducing, and I know they say they're recyclable, but I always imagine a plastic keg with a Tablas Creek label, like a tumbleweed on a freeway somewhere. It's like, that's not what we want to see now, you know, and do people really recycle them, and how easy are they to recycle? So we've stuck by the stainless steel keg because they are reusable, and they're not a product that goes away.
Certainly.
And it's tempting because it would be easy to do the plastic ones, and they are a great thing, and they're super efficient and economical. I think using stainless remains more expensive, but just the thought of that waste and everything we do at the winery to try and not use plastic, that would just go against our
everything that you
philosophy.
do. Certainly.
Right? You know,
well, it's just one of the many reasons that, you know, the Tablas Creek Vineyard, the state itself, is a very special place.
Yeah.
Everything from, you know, what Nathan's been doing with the herd and Hayes and Bailey and
Nathan's
University.
gone. You know, Nathan left?
I can't wait to go on one of his trips.
I know.
I think we should all get on one of those.
Oh God, good luck.
Let's
You're never
do the-
coming back if you go on a Nathan trip. We got a new shepherd, Dane. Have you met Dane?
I don't know.
Yeah, he was at Rangeland before. Now he's with us.
Okay, cool.
Much quieter than Nathan.
Rangeland's kind of
So
your farm league.
I know. I feel terrible for that a little bit, but
That's okay. Larry, he's a very capable man.
yeah, he's good, and he understands. You know. So yeah, that program continues. The lamb is incredible. It keeps going and going.
We've featured it many times at the Hatch. It's a fantastic product.
Yeah, it is a fantastic
Product.
a product with great integrity.
100%.
I
Right,
just
Tony?
believe that there's like backup shepherds, right? Like I think that's awesome.
Well,
right?
there it is. I mean, we put an ad out for Shepherd Regenerative Agricultural Lead.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Like that's, you know,
Couple
if
of
somebody would have told me in high school, like if tennis doesn't work out, you might want to think about shepherdry. I'd be like, wow, all right, yeah.
I don't think you'd be good at it, Tommy. It's dirty work.
I don't know. I just feel like you could guide sheep around. You know what I mean? But it's
They're not that easy to guide.
I could talk somebody into doing it though.
You could do that, yeah. Kind of like Pasalon. It probably was your idea.
Hey, Tommy, I heard a really funny story that on your first day of work at Tablas, you
think that's
you
funny?
hit Bubba.
So technically it was my second day of work. But yeah, I clipped Bubba on the leg, and I've never been so mortified.
In the parking lot in whatever it was he was driving.
I've never been so mortified, and it probably took Bubba like 6 months to forgive me too. But
He was really annoyed.
yeah,
I'm lying here taking a nap. This kid comes in and runs over my leg.
right. Like, who was it, Bubba? It's that new guy from New York, right? Like,
Right.
right? Like,
Of course it was. We're gonna jump to the next wine here.
do it.
2017. I was supposed to bring 18, but surprise, surprise, I grabbed the wrong vintage.
It happens.
17, we're into 40% Mourvedre, 35 Grenache, 20 Syrah, and 5 Coumans. Mourvedre is showing. You know the 17 well, I imagine, Tommy.
I do. Yeah.
What have you got to say about that? How was that out in the marketplace?
The last 2 vintages of Esprit is actually the last 3, to tell you the truth. Everything has been received incredibly well. So 16, 17, and 18. The wines are all stunning. I feel like, 17 had kind of more of that. It was bigger and denser, kind of than the 16 and the 18. It was my impression on it, but it was really pretty kind of complete. And for me, I was just kind of thinking that it's just going to take a little while to pick up some nuance.
It's still tasting young.
Yeah,
It tastes great, but it's got some grip. It's not open yet for me.
Yeah.
Mourvedre's holding it tight. It's what I taste. I get the Mourvedre really, really strongly. The Grenache seems to be, for such high percentage, it seems to be in the background a little bit.
I think the wine's composed beautifully. Definitely showing young, has some room to grow, but this is one that you can pull out and enjoy now, or give it a few more years to sit down.
So how's the wine program at Della's going to be? We talked about the Hatch. We haven't really talked about Della's.
It's going to be fairly similar to the Hatch program. We'll have 8 wines on tap via keg, and then we are actually looking to put a new local, I shouldn't say new, but a locals bottle list on the line. So Loma Jones in, Delmore's already in. I got to find a few more.
There was a great concept that Thomas Hill had for a while, where they did like the locals list, and it was all French wines and Italian wines. And it was short, but it was like for the winemakers that came in that didn't really want to drink Paso wine.
Certainly,
it was super cool. It was a super cool idea.
Well, we did that at the Hatch. That was our original wine list. It was probably 50% import, 50% local,
which is great. And I kind of miss that.
I couldn't sell an import bottle to save my life.
Really? Show me the list. I would have bought one.
Sure. Oh, it's okay. Where were you 5 years ago?
Yeah.
It just didn't work for whatever reason. It didn't work for us. I'm sure it could work at a Bistro Laurent or maybe a Thomas Hill, but for us, it just didn't work.
And I don't know that, right? I mean, I guess a huge part of your business is people in town on a tourist weekend or week. They want local.
So we're at a point now where every product we carry for wine and beer is a local product,
which is great for
if not Paso specifically, at least county-wise.
Central Coast.
So, and Della's is going to go a little bit further, and we're going to maintain a California liquor list. So we're going to try and become even a little bit more local centric. There might be a few whiskeys here and there that might deviate from that.
Do you think that there's is that viable? Are they good enough?
I'll find out.
Are they? Can you replace
the cool
Whistle Pig with something from?
Well, the cool thing about the back bar is that it can always morph. It can grow and change all the time.
Sure.
I don't have to stick to one thing. And
I don't know the subject really. I'm just wondering, like, how are the local spirits? Are they?
Oh, people are doing fantastic jobs. I think some
I
of
haven't
the
had very many. So.
Oh, well, you got to go down to Tin City and check out Wine Shine, see what they're doing. They have a couple different labels down there. I think the people who are finding the most success
are the ones who aren't just trying to do straight vodka or a straight gin or, hey, here's our bourbon. People who are being experimental. Wine Chai, for instance, has a mango brandy. They have a cinnamon brandy. They have a hibiscus brandy. Then they also have some stalwarts that are in the collection, but there's things that are very cocktail friendly.
Right.
Cocktail mixing friendly. It's not just like trying to compete with Tito's on the back bar.
Right. And I've heard, Joe Barton's a good friend. I've had his.
We carry a
stuff,
lot of his
obviously, and he's very adamant to make this work. You have to also be able to serve cocktails somewhere for yourself too.
100%.
It's
And that's what makes sense for them.
because that's always seemed like a challenge to me. Like, you're gonna make wine, people are gonna sit down and drink that in the city. You're gonna make booze, it's gonna be on their shelf for a while.
Keep it on the shelf for a while. You have to. I mean, if you look at all the major distilleries in our nation that are making top-notch whiskeys, they've been around for 100+
Right.
years. It's not a business that you just jump into and
Right.
have a great product on day two. You got to put the time and the effort in, pass it down to your kids, your kids, and then hopefully at some point you're able to, define yourself within that market.
It's an interesting thing for me because they're popping up everywhere, and I'm just wondering the sustainability and how much. But I always wondered about wine too, like how many wineries can Paso carry?
I asked the same question.
And it keeps on growing and it keeps on working.
It seems we're on this kind of cycle of every 5 to 7 years where there's a market recorrection, so to speak. And you kind of see some people move out and new people
Gave
move
it a
in.
try. So, what is your feeling today? Is the state of downtown Paso Robles culinary restaurant bar world?
I think it's better than ever. Back in 2003, when I started here in town, fine dining was Wilson's Lanes and getting hot dogs, or you went to Paris. I don't know if everyone remembers Paris back in the day, Claude's place, which was highly ahead of its time. There wasn't a lot to offer. Now there's a lot more diversity. There's more people doing craft cocktails. Alchemist Garden just opened up on 12th Street. Has a fantastic cocktail.
Pretty cool, right? I went there one time.
It's
I haven't been
fantastic.
back, but it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Fish Gaucho was really led the way for the expansion into more commerce on the 13th Street corridor. Thank goodness we have them as an anchor. So more and more we're becoming commercially successful. People are raising the bar as far as
Seo's
products they're
places.
offering. LPC is killing it. That's one of my favorite places to go for dinner. Their whipped potatoes are more butter than potato, just the way I like
Yeah,
them.
it's very French thing. Maybe a French thing. Oh, we lost Tom. No,
But the scene downtown is fantastic right now. And I feel like this is going to be the best summer we've ever seen.
it's busy tonight. Coming in here,
Busy tonight,
trying
busy
to
every night.
trying to get in here to do this. It's not easy to find a place to park.
Well, parking's always an issue in downtown. It has been for years and years. And
You
now
can
that there's
park 2 blocks
parklets,
away, though, right?
You should be able to walk a block and
I think so.
be okay with it.
Yeah, if you walk 3 blocks, you can park easily.
You can park easily. That's 100% true. People always want to hear that. They want to park right in front of the place
Right.
they're having dinner at.
I always start there, but
That's where you try, right? But yeah, I don't think it's, I think downtown Paso right now is the best it's ever been, and it's going to continue to grow. There's a couple new bars that'll be opening up soon. There's
What's
other
that?
there's going to be a new tiki bar called Cane.
Tiki bar in
Tiki
Paso
bar
Robles.
in Paso Robles.
Wow.
It's going to be opening.
Cane
Some,
sugar.
Troy and Donovan, the Larkin brothers or cousins, are opening up. They have Fish Gaucho, Pat and McGregor's on level 22. They're expanding. They're doing the same type of expansion that we're doing here from the Hatch Rotisserie Bar. They're taking Fish Gaucho.
So you know that I knew those guys when they were children. No, pre-schooners.
Pre-schooners.
Before I was in the wine business, my sister and my wife and myself ran a catering and dessert making business out of the kitchen behind the old Cayucas Tavern in Cayucas, which was owned by their dad.
Nice.
So they come visit dad and
History.
come into the kitchen.
Are you,
A long
do you
time
know
ago.
Kirk Kennedy, their uncle?
I know the name. I probably do.
He
know.
was actually one of the partners in Burnham's.
Okay.
So
I knew Bill.
It's
Bill
pretty,
Larkin.
it's pretty close knit.
Yeah. And then he owned the Tavern, Camosi's, he owned the Bowie, he started Schooners, he owned all the bars on that coast.
That's awesome.
And they're chips off the old block as far as
Absolutely.
what they've opened.
Very good neighbors to have. Very good people.
Yeah, he was a tough guy, but he was always good to us. He was a good landlord.
That's what you need.
And
I didn't know there was a kitchen behind the tavern.
it was a great kitchen.
Is that what's the card room now?
The card room was there, but it's much smaller. Yeah,
Okay.
so it expanded. And we went in there and we started catering. This is like 1986 or something. And we went. And he said, "I'll lease it to you," because it was empty. It was a great kitchen. He said, "I'll lease it to you, but I'm telling you right now, if you think you're going to try and sell food to my clientele in the tavern, they're here to drink and snort cocaine off the toilet." We tried to sell food. Didn't work. It was classic. It was classic.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And the card room and the whole scene, and we were making desserts and cooking. They were playing poker back there. It was a time.
Probably some good stories.
Yeah, there are. And it's great to see the kids. I mean, they do that. They do Pappy's, right? And the
Pappy's Cane, level
cocktail.
22. Yeah.
And they're doing Cane as well.
And now they're doing
And
Cane.
he was always kind of the same, like very themey. You know, he always did the wood sculptured stuff and had a theme to all of his.
I mean, setting yourself apart
establishments.
is important.
Yeah.
You know, being able to define your brand is important. You know, you need to explain what you are, both verbally and visually.
Right.
You know, it needs to all work.
Great local family doing well.
Love it.
Cool. Well, you need to go to work.
I actually don't. I'm off for the night.
Are you?
I
need to go and have
I
dinner.
scheduled you all night.
Well, these people don't want to hear us all night. That's for darn sure.
Fair enough.
So, Eric, congratulations
Thank you,
on
sir.
great success.
Appreciate you.
And good luck with Dallas. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
giving us the time. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
I highly appreciate it. You know, my
Tommy's back.
my time at Tablas wasn't long. You know, I worked there for about a year, but it is definitely a springboard that I've been able to step off of. I feel like it's such a great organization and a great property, and I have nothing but the fondest of memories. I love what you guys do.
I don't
out
know
there,
Tablas
and
Creek, and I agree with you fully.
and I'm
It's,
just very
great
appreciative of
thing.
what you guys do as an organization. It's
Appreciate
really,
that.
really awesome. So, thank you for being in
Yes.
town. Thanks for doing what you do and
Tommy,
all the good stuff.
thanks for stepping in.
Thanks, sir. When you come down to make some pizzas, Tommy?
What was that?
When you coming down to make some pizzas?
I just got to find a place to live, and then I'll be right down.
Okay. You can always crash on my couch. You're always welcome.
Appreciate it. No, I'm psyched for you, Eric. Good job. And
Thank
yeah, really excited to check out Della's. And yeah, Neil, good to see you. And hope to get down there and say hello soon. All right.
Likewise, you're in striking distance now. We can meet in Big Sur. We can meet at Nepenthe and have some
Totally.
fun.
And I got a hunch that the city's going to be a lot of fun too this summer. So get up
Yeah,
there. All
I
right?
think so. I'm looking forward to it. And the people that are listening, if there are people listening, I've got some great guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but stay tuned because it's going to be fun. They're good people and interesting people, inspired people. So with that, cheers to Eric.
Cheers, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Here's to Dallas.
Thank you.
Let's hope it's as successful as the Hatch.